Shalom. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the creator and maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, is intended to help a matter regarding the prophet Ezekiel and what was stated in the prophet Ezekiel chapter 34. While, brothers and sisters, I do not profess to know everything, I hope and pray that you all are well. I hope and pray that you all are able to follow along. I'm asking you all to get your books, your pads, your papers, and take notes. And brothers and sisters, if I can be heard, and if you are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Asking for those who are able to hear and are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. I ask that because on my end, I'm not able to hear how it sounds and so forth. So if I were to turn it up and then the sound may clash and so forth. So that's why I ask you all to do so, which Toda Sarai, my love, for typing that in. We do not, brothers and sisters, intend for this presentation to be long, but we do want to take out the time to get into this particular matter. And I'm going to say shalom to the family here present, to my lady Sarai, and to anybody else who is currently at the sound of my voice or will hear this later on. The purpose in this is to show where one's position is scripturally once it comes down in a matter of leadership, if you will, in a position that one has. Recently, not too long ago upon this channel, there was a presentation done about King Saul. And in it, we went over the fact that Samuel told Saul, it may seem of a light thing to you, but you are heads, or you are head of the tribes of Israel, which we come to know and understand is not a light matter. I'm going to be in this addressing males mainly. While this is not misandry, that is to say the hatred of males, there are situations that we have to sit there and get across in this particular matter. So, if we will, we're going to be reading in Ezekiel the 34th chapter, but right before that, if we will, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 5, if we will. Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 22 and verse 26. Now, we're not going to be using PowerPoint in this, so follow along, get your book, and let's go along in that particular case. All right? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 22, and let us see, brothers and sisters, what it says in that particular case. Because we got to get it together, brothers and sisters. All right? And let's do that. And it says this: Fear ye not me, saith Yah. Will ye not tremble at my presence, which have placed the sand for the bound of the sea by the perpetual decree, that it cannot pass it? And though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail. Though they roar, can they not pass over it? So what this is talking about, brothers and sisters, is talking about the aspect of the waves in the sea tossing from one to the other, and the Most High is the one who gave it by a decree on how far the sea is able to go. That lets it be known in a matter of fear. And by fear, I mean the word Yareh in Hebrew, which means respect. As pointed out before, the righteous fear the Most High, the wicked are afraid of the Most High. So there's two aspects of fear. If we are told by the prophet Moses in Deuteronomy about serving the Most High with joyfulness and gladness of heart, we can't do that and couple it with a fear that is of fright or being scared. So the fear of the Lord is the respect or the honor, the admiration, not the fright or being scared of. So these are things we want to point out in that particular case. Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 26. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap, they catch men. What does it state right there? For among my people are found wicked men. Brothers and sisters, I used this verse to get into the Hebrew of it in one of the Hebrew books that I did about the word finding, if we will. So if we are already reading, brothers and sisters, something that dates back to the era of the 7th and 6th century BCE, and it's saying that for among the people of the Most High are found wicked men, two things can be ascertained from such. One is a reminder to not be surprised when man becomes wicked. And two, it is a way of letting it be known that they who are wicked are still the Most High's people. We just don't want to follow in said way, so we won't get that adjective of being resha or wicked. All right? So, brothers and sisters, let us continue. Again, this is not going to be in PowerPoint form. We're going to be reading in Ezekiel chapter 34 and verse 1. And the word of Yah came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord unto the shepherds, Woe be to the shepherds of Israel, who do feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flocks? This can be taken very broad in certain cases. You understand? The shepherds are feeding themselves and not the flock. Some may think about the concept of prosperity teaching, where you find dancing on money and everything is about money. And this person is up there asking the congregation to give them this and the congregation to give them that. And such is the case. Such too happened in ancient days. And such happens in modern days, even in the house of Israel in modern days. Let us read verse 2 again and see what we can ascertain from it. Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God unto the shepherds, Woe be to the shepherds of Israel that do feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flocks? Brothers and sisters, if you are a shepherd and the people are the flock, not saying that they are even spiritually a matter of being a lamb or a sheep, but at the same token, when you are a more, a teacher, a nasi, an exalted one, a seren, a sergeant, a star, a ruler, a nasik, a prince. When you are seen as a rosh or a leader, when you have these kind of titles upon you, not that you're perfect, not that you will never make a mistake, because the high priest Hakohen Agado, it talks about he making an atonement for his sin, so nobody's exempt from sinning. The issue is this: you have to make a certain kind of way for yourself when to accept that kind of matter. You cannot, after understanding this scripture here, should not the shepherds feed the flock? And the flock comes to you as the shepherd, but you too busy at the plantation to give an answer. Everybody gets off the plantation, even with labor laws. Everybody gets a 15-minute break. Everybody gets a 45 minutes to hour break. Everybody gets a bathroom break. So if you are these titles, whether you're in the bathroom or not, Tuesday or on Shabbat, that doesn't retire in that particular case. You cannot pose yourself as I'm a more. I am a teacher. Bring your children to me. And then once it comes down when you got to be on that plantation, it's you know I'm busy. Instead of saying that, you can say, let me get right back to you. I apologize. I can't deal with that right now. Or better yet, to sound more welcoming, O house of Israel. Let me get right back to you. I got you. Because the statement that says, I can't deal with this right now is dismissive. There is a way on how to present a matter. I remember when I was asked to be a teacher inside of a Hebrew congregation to teach Hebrew. Somebody tried to, in an email or whatever like that, try to come sideways. Where's your degree in the language? Ma? Ani Yodea et Morai. Oh, you don't know what Yodea means? You don't know what Morai means? You learn your lesson, get your degree up. Because the word Yodea is a peyod verb while being a lamed ayin verb. Means no. The yod drops off. And from yada, the yod drops off, the tau comes in at the end. Da'at, the word knowledge, comes into play. Maybe your more didn't teach you that. That's one way to handle that kind of pessimist spirit. Or maybe you didn't have a more. Maybe the college institution, while I love college, taught in college and going back to it myself, maybe they didn't get that far in that particular case. So, brothers and sisters, looking upon it, if we will, for edification purposes with the time allotted. There still is a way to go about a matter and handling something professionally, to handle something respectfully, even if you know they come with the pessimist spirit. You got your haters out there, such do exist. And in the case of this in Ezekiel 34, the shepherds who are not feeding the sheep are manipulative. They know how to sit there and do the manipulation that the word tapas in Hebrew talks about. You understand? It goes on to say, you eat the fat and you clothe you with the wool. You kill them that are fed, but you feed not the flock. What is that saying, brothers and sisters? You eat the fat and you clothe you with the wool. You're supposed to, as a shepherd, a ro'eh in Israel, a choseh in Israel, you're supposed to sit there and give it out to the people. Not just take it all, say, for yourself. When you have a body of men, and I stated I'll be talking mainly about males in this. One of the things that I've seen over the course of years that make people fall from out of being around a camp or so is when a man is not respected as being such. David told Solomon, show yourself to be a man. So in light of that kind of understanding in Israel, and David was a shepherd, Solomon was a shepherd, you cannot accept these titles while not trying to understand the kind of spirit say that David had. You cannot say, call me a teacher, call me a prince, call me a priest, call me a captain, call me a chief, and all of the titles that come along with such. But then be servant during the course of the week. Excuse me? So you are a chief on the Shabbat or the holy days. And any other time, the basketball got your attention. The baseball got your attention. The social media foolishness got your attention. One of the things my lady was recently telling me is, if I may go there, she missed our study time. That's how we met. We were studying and we was praying together on Sabbath and other days and so forth. So don't want to be, I'm so caught up. I'm so busy. I'm so caught up. I'm so busy. You don't want that to be there. You have to know, as they usually state, there has to be a balance. You understand? And if you have a helpmate, and depending upon your gender, he or she sees, because the man can be a helpmate to his lady. Yes, a man can be a helpmate to his lady. And it goes on to say, let me know I could be of any assistance. If I see that what we used to do, we not doing, and you're so busy, let me know if I can handle some of the quote burden in that say particular case. You're not alone in this particular manner. You understand? But getting back to these males, and this is not misandry or the hatred of males, it goes on to say, the disease have you not strengthened, neither have you healed that which was sick, neither have you bound up that which was broken, neither have you brought again that which was driven away, neither have you sought that which was lost, but with force and with cruelty have you ruled them. Let's read that again. The diseased have you not strengthened. You must have done something to get sick, bruh. That's on you. It ain't on me. That kind of mentality. Neither have you healed that which was sick. Recently, not too long ago, the lady in my life helped me out when I was not feeling well. Take this herb, take this thing, stop eating this, eat more of that. And I feel a whole lot better than I did, say, last weekend. Told Ayah for the knowledge that she has, and told Ayah for having her in my life. Now, if you know how to do something and you refuse to do it, hold right there in Ezekiel chapter 34, and let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 48, verse 10. So we're going to let the book speak, brothers and sisters. All right? Hold your hand in Ezekiel 34, and let's go to Jeremiah chapter 48 and verse 10. What do we read? Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. So you can't be doing the work of the Most High only on Shabbat. So if this is your mission, what did Jethro even tell Moses? This is too much for you. Divvy it out to other people. But if you have an organization, a camp, a channel, or any other type of thing, and things are being slowed down because you refuse to have a lieutenant, you refuse to have a captain, you refuse to have a sub chief, if you will. Solomon had, it became his successor. Jeroboam's father was Nabat. He was a captain inside of the land of Ephraim. You can't handle everything on your own. But getting back to Ezekiel, where it says what? You eat the fat and you clothe you with the wool. You kill them that are fed, but you feed not the flock. So you get all of the things that come with being, with say, a camp or congregation or so forth. All of the benefits that come along with it, and you don't divvy it out to nobody else. Now we see why this camp started after this camp broke, and this camp started after this camp broke. We ain't got to name names. You know what it is. This is why Yisrael and the Most High not changing. And people start talking about these as my people, and you're going to be taking, quote, my people, when we are the people of the Most High. These are things, ye men of camps, leaders, and so forth, as to what people complain about as to why they don't want to be in, say, camps. These are things that the prophet Ezekiel is talking about. I gave donations all the time, and when I needed something, they couldn't even sit there and help me out. That's an issue. All you saw the person as was a view on YouTube or a face sitting in a seat. You didn't understand that that was the anointed of the Most High, the children of Israel. You didn't take the, quote, congregants as important. So let's go on and see what this says in this manner, brothers and sisters. It lays down some of the qualifications that you're supposed to be doing. The diseased have ye not strengthened, neither have ye healed that which was sick, neither have ye bound up that which was broken. That which is broken. Take man and woman. You want to be a counselor in somebody's relationship. It's your duty to try to mend that situation. Not, girl, leave him. Don't be in the inbox talking about leave him. Don't be in his inbox talking about leave that. Because what happens in some cases, the dude that's saying sister leave him is looking to be with that same sister later on. And sometimes it be the sister who's going to say, you know what? You feel that way because of this. And then she's the one who might be shiesty. Might be. I'm saying these things, brothers and sisters. What do we read? It distinctly points out, bound up that which is broken. If you see that you are given the respect in, say, a relationship advisor matter, and your advice is for them to leave, guess what's going to happen if they don't break up? They're going to hate you. You understand? This is why when we go in the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus chapter 9, it speaks about don't console a woman when you are a man when she's going through something with her man or her husband or so, or her significant other or so. That's not for you to say to jump in that particular case, inbox or on the line or in person, internet or otherwise. Brothers and sisters, I was brought up in Israel where some of the things didn't turn out as best the way it was done. Separate the boys and the girls wasn't always the best thing, because when you want someone, in many cases in the generation I came up with, you wind up having children with people out there because you was taught not to be around each other. But then again, when you only meet on the day in which you shouldn't be running around playing and things of that kind of nature, as opposed to meeting up when you can play on the so-called Sunday, the community bond wasn't built. The matter I asked Morey Baruch, what do you think is a good way to have a congregation to stay, people to stay in congregations? He gave a wise answer: have elders and have children. You understand? And looking, brothers and sisters, upon that matter and getting into that particular situation, we want to point out you have to, when you accept these titles as More, Nasi, Samal, Saul, Nasik, sometimes people saying Cohen as priest, you have to make sure understanding Ezekiel 34 is like a blueprint of it. Yes, you read about judge righteously in Deuteronomy. Yes, you read about the kind of person that you're supposed to be, of your own self, how you treat your own self. This is talking about how you treat your fellow man. Let's go on and read this part. It says in verse 4, neither have you brought again that which was driven away, neither have you sought that which was lost. The mentality is, well, if they leave the camp, good riddance. Go ahead. Get out my life. We ain't need you anyway. That person was a flake. That's not what this says. That's why, not to be funny, a brother made a comment. When you talk about me, make sure that you talk to Tayshawn as he's talking to Yeshaya so I can get on the level where you at, because I forgot you shining. Israel. Let's go on. And it goes on to say in Ezekiel chapter 34. Neither have you sought that which was lost, but with force and with cruelty have you ruled them. If you have a camp, an organization or so, and your comparison is to a supervisor on the plantation or the job, that's what that is. There's a distinction. There's a distinction that's supposed to be made. But when you have, I'm a boss mentality, you ain't never seen a job application where they say position desired for and the word was boss. You read supervisor, managerial, assistant manager. You ain't never read the word boss. There's a difference between a menahel, a leader, and a boss, whatever word that's supposed to be in Hebrew. Menahel from the hell, which means what? To lead. A leader and a boss is not the same thing. You want to know why? They ain't coming out to the camps like they used to. They ain't being around like they used to, and other these kind of things is of the stuff that we read of in this chapter. With cruelty have you dealt with them, and with force. You're going to force a grown man to sit there and change his regular schedule to accommodate your organization. You're not going to try to work with the people and say, let's all come together as one. You're going to stay exactly in your stubborn position, and everyone's supposed to just work around you. That's the difference between a leader and a boss. That is not a good way in dealing with grown people. We've already been talking about 400 years of oppression. Women, sisters talk about they don't want no oppressive man, controlling man. Men don't want no controlling woman. I already had a mother. And after working in many cases, what do you think makes us think that we should be one with another as the supervisor on the job? The people in camps, no disrespect, in Israel have actually stated that. But on the job, you will sit there and do, this is not a job. I will go and gain gainful employment elsewhere. I would take that job off of my resume. But that is different if you are already seeing yourself as Israel and you on a spiritual and righteous quest. How can you then try to compare it to a job? Like that you do when you punch the clock in 8 to 4 when the Shabbat starts the day before the daytime itself. You can't compare the two. Shabbat goes from evening to evening. If you are even working with these labor laws, you can't work evening to evening on a 24-hour shift. There's even labor laws against that. So that the schedule itself is off to try to make the comparison. But when you have a body of men, O house of Israel, and wondering what to do with those brothers or with those sisters, take counsel like Moses did. In less than 5 months, the children of Israel had an army already in the wilderness. He took counsel with Joshua. It doesn't make you any less of a person, say and such. When people respect you and want to promote you, you respect what respects you. Because even on the job, they will leave on account of that. They'll go on vacation, have their resume already set up. They'll create a new email so they will never send it there by accident. I'm talking biological sister. You put me on how to do it. Make sure you set an email that you don't put it on the regular resume. Okay, so you can never email that, and make sure you do your different flash drive. So when you sit there and send it, you don't send your book to these publishers and to these other people by accident. My baby sister put me on to that. Cool. So I'm saying that to say this. Stop trying to manipulate and disrespect people. People ain't going to take it. We praise Frederick Douglass. Everyone, Frederick Douglass, July the 4th speech. Before he gave that July the 4th speech, he laid them knuckles down on his slave master, for those who don't know. His slave master, when he was 17, beat him. When he got done getting beat, or he got that matter resolved, he turned around, got his strength together, and whooped his slave masters behind. And at this point, of course, he had to sit there and run. Ran up north, became a politician, and knew how to read, blew up. Brothers and sisters, I'd like to read something out of a book I wrote. This book here, Israelite History as it relates to the world. And on page 189, On page 189, we see this. In the book Deuteronomy 28, 15 to 68, History Untold to the Masses, I explained that there were laws set up during slavery that would not allow the slave to read and write. The reason was obvious. A slave is ignorant. He eats, he sleeps, he labors, and he is happy. Now, if he is allowed to read, he becomes most miserable. An excerpt from the movie Roots by Alex Haley. The white folks did not allow us to have nothing to do with books. You better not be found trying to read a book. Our master was harder down on that than anything else. You better not be catched with the book. A slave master of Hannah Crasson, a former slave in North Carolina. If it was illegal for us to know how to read and write, why, when we read here in Ezekiel, when it says you dealt with them with force and cruelty, do you have people in Israel saying don't read and don't worry about writing? And I'm talking straight 100. Why are there leaders in Israel sadly intimidated if somebody does something in the congregation that you can't do? What are you doing that for? How dare you write that? You just want to show how much you know. You're the slave master that Hannah Crasson was talking about. You better not be caught with a book. Here's your Bible and your Apocrypha. And you best not sit there and read anything outside of what I tell you. That is not a good way to be. The mentality that some people feel in Israel is no different than what Hannah Krasson was talking about, which happened to her as a child in slavery. And she was from North Carolina. The people want to feel free, leaders. When a man meets a woman and a woman meets a man, and one is telling the other, or they're telling each other, you're like a breath of fresh air. And when I think of you, I'm happy. I still get those butterflies. You're like a comfort to me. That is how you're supposed to be if you are leading the people of the Most High. Not with the mentality where it says here, neither have you brought again that which was driven away. So if somebody decides to sit up and leave, you want to sit there and be upset with that person for leaving. That is called cult, not camp. That is called cult. You understand? You're dealing, brothers, who are these leaders in many cases with grown men who may have a lady of their own, who may have children of their own, who may have brothers and sisters, a job of their own, going to school on their own, handling things on their own, and you're going to tell that man that's handling all of that and came from all of that on his own, you need to sit down, say nothing. You're about to be mixed with that spirit. That ain't gonna happen. You ain't gonna tell no grown man. Just sit down, don't worry about it, and so forth and so on. That is oppressive. We read in Leviticus that the children, in Deuteronomy, that we're not supposed to deal with oppression with the children of Israel. So when people are talking about certain things and things of that kind of nature, have meetings with your lady. Have meetings with your ish or your man or your spouse. Have meetings as a congregation. Let the people be known. Have what you may call a complaint box. Don't feel it's beneath you to say, you know what? Remember when there was the report card, there was the E for excellent, the G for good, the S for satisfactory, the N for needs improvement, and the U for unsatisfactory? Ask your people what they think of you. Well, it don't matter if real people really think about me. That's not what the book says. You can't say be a light, then say it don't matter what people think about you, because you ain't being a light to the Most High. It says when you do that which is good in the sight of God and man, that is in the scriptures. So if we're supposed to be a light, how then can we then say it don't matter what people think of us? You can't be a light to the one who gives light. So what are we being a light to? Who are we being a light to? Yeah, you can't make everybody happy, but you definitely, like my teacher in history, Chief Simeon pointed out, may he rest in peace. You want to be, before we close out, a light to win friends and influence people to a better way of life. Ezekiel 34, verse 5. And they were scattered because there was no shepherd, and they became meat to all the beasts of the field when they were scattered. My sheep wandered through all the mountains and upon every high hill. Yea, my flock was scattered upon all the face of the earth, and none did search nor seek after them. What is that talking about? The congregants that you have are the sheep of the Most High. You didn't tend to them. You took what you knew about them and tried to use it against them. They told you something in confidence and you brought it out to everybody. You betrayed their trust. You never asked how's everybody doing. How's your fam? Everybody's good. Keep me posted. See, that's the difference between a community and a sabbatical organization. What do I mean? In a community, you can't just operate on a day of rest. A sabbatical organization, you have no community. There's no obligations to such. See, the laws, and my lady was just talking about this. The laws of the Sabbath, in order to keep the Sabbath to the best of one's ability, you got to start preparing for it beforehand. So the Israelite way of life is a very busy life. You got to make the food beforehand, get that clothes ironed beforehand, get the transportation already prepaid for beforehand, get your lesson done beforehand, get your sleeping done beforehand. And especially, brothers, men of the house of Israel, if you taking on these titles and you accepting them and you putting it on your YouTube, in your Facebook, in your books, and you expect people to call you that, and if they call you by your English name, you might feel away. You're going to have your haters. It comes with the territory. It comes with the territory. But like they say with a job, don't let that be the reason. Don't be let go because you took off too many days and the union can't fight for you. You can't even go for what they call you was let go with just cause. Don't let that be the reason. When Israel was supposed to leave the land, it was only supposed to be because you passed away, not because you got evicted. Don't let that be the reason. We see it time and time again, Israel. Camps come up, camps come down. You're the leader of the place. Read Ezekiel 34. Those verses we read so you can see why the previous camps did not last. Because you dealt with cruelty and not compassion. You okay with people quarreling and having problems in your camp. When people left after feeling abused, manipulated, you didn't go back to try to seek that which was lost. The kind of things growing up in Israel that some sisters state they experienced with brothers whom they trusted, we're not going to talk about that on today. And if there's any little girl that's going to be on YouTube, we ain't going to discuss it in case you hear it on a Friday. You understand? But if you live in a lie, that ain't good. Saul's wife was known. She ain't get a lot of acknowledgement, but she's known. David's wives was known. Solomon, even in his sin, his wives was known. He had so many wives, it became a sin. And that's known. So Israel, you're talking about Sabbath? Says you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, your cattle, your ox, and a stranger in your gates. We are tired as black people of being taken advantage of. We shouldn't have to come into Israel and experience the same foolishness of the job. It's supposed to be my brother. My brother. We're supposed to hear it from the patois. We're supposed to hear it from the LA. We're supposed to hear it from the Gullah South. We're supposed to hear it from Boston, whatever accent you got. Not, I don't like that. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy. I don't like that person. Let's close out and see what Ezekiel. No, not Ezekiel. Zechariah says. Let's go to the book of Zechariah, chapter 7, verse 8. Sorry, my way. We're going to go to Zechariah chapter 7, verse 8 and close out. Brothers and sisters. And the word of Yah came to Zechariah, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Execute true judgment, and show mercy and compassion, every man to his brother. So if you're dealing with force and cruelty that Ezekiel is condemning, here in Zechariah, we see mercy and compassion. And oppress not the widow, nor the fatherless, the stranger, nor the poor. And let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart. So let that be what it is and known in the scriptures. That's what the Most High is telling the people to be as compassionate, execute true judgment, show mercy. We know about the portions in Amos, such as hate the evil and love the good. Shalom.